Do you know what truly separates a mature woman who effortlessly captivates a younger man from one he politely respects but never desires? It's not the number on your birth certificate. It's not the fine lines around your eyes, the size of your bank account, or even the shape of your body. It's something far quieter, almost invisible. And because it's so subtle, most women get it wrong without even realizing it. If you've ever felt that strange shift, that moment when the spark between you and a younger man dims the second he learns your age, you probably know the awkward silence that follows. Maybe you've tried to fill it with a joke about being the older one, or a quick subject change, or even overcompensated by proving how vibrant and accomplished you are. But deep down, you felt it's something in the air changed. What I'm about to share with you flips the conventional dating advice upside down, because after years of observing women in age gap relationships and studying male attraction through a Jungian lens, the way archetypes shape our unconscious desires, I've discovered that the women who truly thrive in these relationships do almost the opposite of what society tells them. And the difference is so striking that once you understand it, you'll see why some connections blossom into something magnetic, while others collapse into awkward, short-lived encounters you'd rather erase from memory. Here's the hard truth. It's not the age gap that drives him away. It's the invisible messages you send, messages that whisper insecurity, a need for approval, or the desperate urge to prove you still have it. The tragedy is these signals have nothing to do with your worth, but they shape how he feels about you before you even realize it's happening. Before you assume this is just another lecture on looking younger or acting a certain way, let me stop you. This is not about competing with youth. In fact, the women who captivate younger men don't fight that battle at all because they know it's a losing game. They offer something youth simply cannot: an emotional gravity, a depth of presence, a self-assurance that comes only from a life fully lived. Imagine this. You're 45, recently divorced, your children are grown, and for the first time in years, your evenings are your own. At a gallery opening, you meet Daniel, 32, magnetic. Smile, quick wit. You talk. You laugh. There's an instant current between you, but when the conversation turns personal, you mention your age. He's polite, but something shifts. His shoulders stiffen, the eye contact changes, the invisible thread you felt a moment ago loosens. Here's what's really happening. Most women, the moment they sense this shift, slip into one of three unconscious roles. They self-deprecate. They become protective, or they shift into impress mode, parading their career achievements, stability, and everything they've built, hoping to justify their worth. In Jungian terms, the lover archetype in his mind, the one that fuels attraction, intimacy, and desire, gets replaced by the mother archetype. And once that happens, no amount of witty banter will bring the lover back. A younger man seeking a mature woman isn't searching for a replacement mother. He's looking for a partner he can stand beside as an equal, a woman whose presence challenges and excites him, whose world he wants to step into, not be managed by. That's why this first shift, the one we'll unpack in depth, is the most dangerous, because if you don't see it, you'll unconsciously start playing a role that kills the very energy he was drawn to in the first place. Let's peel back the first layer of this illusion. Do you know the very first mistake most mature women make when they feel a spark with a younger man? They slip unconsciously into the caretaker role. It starts innocently. You want to help to share the wisdom you've gained through years of life experience? He talks about a problem at work, you offer the perfect solution. He mentions a financial decision, you jump in with advice. He hints at worry, you soothe him with reassurances. On the surface, it feels like love, like nurturing. but to him it feels like a shift. Suddenly the dynamic changes from lover to mother. And here's the psychological truth. Attraction dies the moment he feels he's being managed, taught, or protected like a child. In Jungian terms, the mother archetype has been activated, pushing aside the lover archetype that fuels intimacy and desire. You think you're showing care, but he feels stripped of his agency, as if he has to shrink to fit inside your guidance. Now pause and imagine his experience. He came to you drawn by your depth, your confidence, your fire. But when every conversation turns into a lesson or correction, he no longer feels like a man stepping into an equal partnership. He feels like a boy being monitored, a son being shaped, and no man, especially a younger one, seeking passion and intensity, desires to be someone's project. I once spoke with a client, Helena, 47, who found herself in this very trap. She met Marco, 34, at a friend's dinner party. The chemistry was instant, yet within weeks she noticed the spark dimming. Why? Because every time Marco shared something, Helena turned into his mentor. If he mentioned a challenge, she gave a lecture. If he expressed doubt, she offered solutions. Marco later admitted he felt suffocated, as if spontaneity had been stolen from the relationship. This is where many women unknowingly sabotage themselves. Out of fear of losing his interest, they overgive, over-explain, and overmanage. But here's the paradox. The more you protect him, the less he sees you as his partner. Desire thrives in equality, in the tension of two individuals standing side by side, not in a dynamic where one becomes the teacher and the other the student. So here's the question you must face honestly. Are you letting him experience you as a woman, mysterious, passionate, equal, or are you slowly casting yourself in the role of his caretaker? Because the truth is brutal. Every time you unconsciously step into mother mode, you bury the very feminine allure that first drew him to you. Let me bring this down from theory into something you can feel, because sometimes it's not until we see the story in front of us that we realize we've been living it ourselves. Maria was 50 when she met David, a 35-year-old architect. Their first weeks together were magnetic, late-night conversations, spontaneous adventures, laughter that felt like oxygen after years of silence. Maria hadn't felt this alive in decades, but little by little something began to change. Every time David mentioned a problem at work, Maria jumped in with advice. When he wanted to take a risk, switching firms, starting a side project, she listed all the dangers and explained why he should reconsider. Whenever he was uncertain, Maria offered answers pulled from her years of experience. She thought she was helping, showing her value, proving she could guide him through life's storms. But here's what she didn't realize. Every piece of advice, every attempt to manage, chipped away at the mystery. Instead of feeling like Maria's equal, David began to feel like her student. Instead of being energized by their connection, he felt controlled, contained. And here's the metaphor that perfectly captures it. Maria had unknowingly built David a golden cage. It was safe, polished, well-intentioned, but a cage nonetheless. He could see the world outside, feel his own desires pressing against the bars, but the space she gave him to breathe was shrinking. Desire withers in captivity. Attraction feeds on unpredictability, the thrill of not knowing what's next, the spark of spontaneity. When every move is anticipated, when every problem already has an answer, where is the room for him to feel alive, to be a man in the story you're writing together? This is why control, even when disguised as care, can be so fatal to attraction. Jung once said that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But if one substance overwhelms and neutralizes the other, the reaction dies before it begins. So ask yourself, are you creating space for transformation, or are you, like Maria, unconsciously building a beautiful cage where nothing new can grow? Now let's talk about one of the most silent but deadly traps: how you treat your own age. Picture this: you're out with a younger man, conversation flowing, laughter, light eyes locked. Then casually he asks, "So, how old are you?" For many women, this question lands like a stone in the stomach. You shift in your chair. You make a joke old enough to be your babysitter. Or you dodge, or you sigh, or you say the number like it's an apology. But here's the reality: you may not see. The problem isn't the number, it's the energy you send around it. When you avoid, joke nervously, or self-deprecate, the message he hears isn't "I'm 46, it's "I'm insecure about 46. And insecurity is the only thing that's truly unattractive. Contrast that with a different response. One of my clients, Julia, was on a first date when the question came. She looked him in the eye, smiled, and said, "I'm 43, and every one of those years has been worth living. They've made me who I am. Do you feel the difference?" She didn't flinch. She didn't apologize. She wore her age like a crown. And the man sitting across from her wasn't turned off. He was captivated, not by the number, but by the confidence, the way she inhabited herself fully. Carl Jung once observed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is exactly that moment. A younger man doesn't pull back because of your years. He pulls back when he senses you haven't made peace with them yourself. Confidence is magnetic because it communicates one thing: safety. He doesn't need to wonder if you'll crumble, compete, or compare. He sees a woman rooted in herself, and that stability is intoxicating. So the next time you're tempted to shrink to apologize for the candles on your birthday cake, remember this age is only threatening when you see it as a threat. When you carry it with grace, you turn years into a lure. You stop being an older woman trying to prove herself and become a woman who knows exactly who she is. And that kind of woman, she's unforgettable. Now we arrive at one of the most exhausting mistakes many women make: the silent war against time. The desperate attempt to compete with youth. Of course, there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself. Staying in shape, dressing beautifully, enjoying skincare, these are acts of self-love. But the danger begins when self-care transforms into self-erasure. When every cream, every filler, every wardrobe choice isn't about joy, but about running from age. I think of Emily, 50. She poured thousands into Botox fillers, trendy clothes cut for women 20 years younger. When she met Ethan, 33, she thought her new image would dazzle him. And while he was polite, something was missing. The spark she craved never ignited. Why? Because Emily's obsession with appearing younger masked the very essence. Ethan had been drawn to her authenticity, her lived energy, her unique vibration that no 25-year-old could copy. Men, especially younger men seeking a mature partner, don't come looking for a duplicate of their peers. If that's what they wanted, they'd simply date someone their own age. What they long for is the contrast: a woman who radiates self-possession, who wears her maturity like a perfume, subtle, irresistible, impossible to fake. Here's what you need to hear when your actions scream, "I am competing with women younger than me." You unconsciously announce that you believe you're already losing. And nothing drains magnetism faster than that hidden desperation. Carl Jung taught that our persona, the mask we wear for the world, can become dangerous when it disconnects us from our true essence. When you fight against your age, you create a persona that looks polished but feels hollow. A younger man senses that gap instantly. He may not be able to name it, but he feels the emptiness and instinctively pulls away. But when you allow your authenticity to lead, when your laugh lines tell stories, when your eyes shine with both pain and triumph, when your style reflects who you are now, instead of who you think you should be, that's when you become unforgettable. So stop battling with youth. Stop trying to erase the very years that gave you your wisdom, your sensuality, your resilience. Instead, ask yourself, what can a 25-year-old never offer that I already carry within me? Because the answer to that question is exactly what makes you magnetic. Now let's dismantle another illusion, the belief that if you shine bright enough in your achievements, your career, your home, your financial independence, desire will follow. Yes, success commands respect. Yes, independence is attractive. But let me ask you this, when was the last time a resume ever stirred someone's pulse? I've seen this mistake countless times. A woman sits across from a younger man listing her travels, her degrees, her accomplishments. She believes she's showing her value, proving she's not just older, but extraordinary. Yet to him, it doesn't feel extraordinary. It feels like an interview. He's not thinking, what an amazing partner she'd be. He's thinking, am I supposed to measure up to this? Here's the subtle psychology at play. When you lead with your resume, you unconsciously push him into the role of applicant, and desire cannot breathe inside a job interview. Carl Jung said that what we long for in relationship is not perfection, but connection, the meeting of souls where something new emerges. A younger man isn't searching for a mentor to admire or a CEO to impress. What he's craving is the emotional spark, the sense that life becomes more colorful, more alive in your presence. Think of it this way, your career may earn his respect, your investments may earn his admiration, but only your energy will earn his desire. And if every conversation turns into a showcase of what you've built, you risk reducing yourself to a list of assets rather than the living, breathing woman sitting across from him. I remember Alessia, 49, who had built a thriving business empire. When she met Thomas, 33, she thought her success would be her strongest allure. She spoke of her offices abroad, her properties, her luxury travels. Thomas listened politely, but his eyes glazed over. Later he admitted, I respected her, but I didn't feel her. That's the hidden danger, respect without desire. And respect alone doesn't create intimacy. So here's your mirror. Are you showing him the woman you are or the resume you've built? Because no man, young or old, falls in love with a resume. And now let's shine a light on another hidden pattern that quietly drains a relationship of its spark, excessive availability. At first glance, it looks like love. You answer every message the second it arrives. You cancel plans just to see him. You shift your schedule, your sleep, even your priorities, so he never has to wait, never has to wonder. You think you're showing devotion, proving how much he matters, but to him it feels like the opposite of attraction. Here's why. Attraction thrives on polarity, the dance between closeness and distance, presence and absence. When you are always available, always ready, always there, you erase the very tension that makes him lean toward you. He stops feeling like he's earning your attention and starts assuming it will always be there. And when something is guaranteed, it loses its value. Think of it this way, if every time he texts, you respond instantly, where is the anticipation? If every suggestion he makes is met with an eager yes, where is the challenge? Without friction, without mystery, the connection flattens into predictability. I once worked with Sophia, 46, who found herself in this exact cycle. She believed being endlessly available would show commitment. Yet after a few months, the younger man she was dating grew distant. He confessed that he felt suffocated, not because she was unkind, but because she left him no space to miss her, no space to reach for her. Here's the paradox. Real magnetism doesn't come from proving you'll always be there. It comes from choosing to be there despite having a full, vibrant life of your own. When a woman moves through her days with rhythm, when she has passions, friendships, pursuits that light her up, her presence becomes something precious. She is not waiting by the phone. She is living. And when she does give her time, it feels like a gift, not a given. Carl Jung spoke of the tension of opposites, how energy emerges in the space between two poles. Love is no different. Without that subtle tension, without a little mystery, the fire dies. So ask yourself, are you leaving him room to long for you, or are you giving so much of yourself that he forgets how to reach? There's another mistake that slips in quietly, especially after years of carrying responsibility, excessive seriousness. Many mature women believe that to be respected they must always be composed, rational, and in control. They silence their playful spark, fearing it will make them appear frivolous. But here's the irony: while control earns respect, it often suffocates desire. Think of Olivia, 52. After her divorce, she rebuilt her life with grit. A respected professional, a devoted mother, a woman who kept everything in order. When she met Michael, 35, she brought that same seriousness to their connection. Their conversations were intelligent, polished, thoughtful, but also heavy. Michael later admitted he felt like he was attending a board meeting, not a date. Why did the spark fade? Because attraction isn't only built on competence or wisdom, it feeds on aliveness. A younger man, especially one drawn to a mature woman, doesn't need another dose of gravity. His life already has enough of that: deadlines, family pressures, responsibilities. What pulls him in is a woman who can laugh easily, who can dance with life's unpredictability, who carries a lightness that says, I know who I am, and I'm not afraid to play. Carl Jung spoke about the importance of integrating all aspects of the self, including the childlike, spontaneous parts we often repress. When you suppress your playful energy, you present only a fragment of yourself. But when you allow both your wisdom and your vitality to coexist, you become irresistible, a woman with depth and delight. So let me ask you, are you showing him only the version of you that's serious, polished, and responsible? Or are you letting him glimpse the woman who laughs so hard, her eyes water, who can be spontaneous, who radiates joy as much as strength? Because true allure lies not in choosing between maturity and playfulness, but in embodying both. Now let's unravel another dangerous myth: the idea that pretending not to care makes you more attractive. Many women believe that showing interest too openly will scare him away, so they wear a mask of indifference. They don't reply right away. They avoid compliments. They act as if his presence means nothing. On the surface, it feels like control, a strategy to keep him guessing, but beneath it, it's coldness, and coldness is not the same as mystery. Here's the paradox: when you fake detachment, he doesn't see independence, he sees disconnection. And what began as intrigue quickly turns into a wall he cannot climb. Think of it this way: a younger man seeking a mature woman is often tired of the superficiality he encounters in women his own age. He's drawn to you because of your depth, your ability to connect from a place of authenticity. If you deny him that he feels cheated, you're hiding the very quality he came for. I once worked with Elena, 45, who tried this exact tactic with a man 10 years younger. She thought keeping her emotions hidden would make her seem unattainable. Instead, he walked away, telling her later, I never knew if you wanted me or if you were just tolerating me. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we suppress out of fear. For many women, their emotional expressiveness, their vulnerability becomes part of that shadow. But the irony is, this is precisely what makes them magnetic. The courage to say, I want you, without fear of rejection. The maturity to show interest without clinging. So let me ask you, Are you holding back your true feelings out of fear he'll think you're needy, or are you brave enough to show your interest in a way that is real, unforced, unapologetic? Because true maturity is not indifference. It's the ability to love without desperation, to reveal without losing yourself, to connect without manipulation. And that more than any game of hard to get is what keeps a younger man endlessly fascinated. Now we come to the root of nearly every mistake, all the over-advising, the caretaking, the forced indifference, the frantic attempts to look younger. They grow from one hidden belief that age is a disadvantage. This belief whispers to you that you must compensate, that you must prove yourself worthy of his attention, that because you are older, you must work twice as hard to hold his desire. And it's this belief, not your years, that sabotages everything. Think about it. When you approach a relationship from the mindset of I need to make up for my age, you inevitably distort your natural energy. You become anxious, over-controlling, or overly submissive. You try to earn love instead of simply living it. And he feels it, the lack of ease, the quiet desperation beneath your actions. But here's the truth that shifts everything: your age is not a burden. It is a difference. And differences, when embraced, are magnetic. Carl Jung often spoke of individuation, the process of becoming wholly yourself. This is where your power lies. A younger woman can be beautiful, playful, and exciting, but she cannot offer the perspective that only years of living bring. She cannot offer the calm born from weathering storms, the clarity of knowing what matters and what doesn't, the freedom of no longer needing to prove anything. A younger man who is drawn to a mature woman isn't searching for someone to erase her age. He's seeking exactly what her age has given her: presence, wisdom, depth, and a kind of sensual confidence that can't be faked. So let me ask you, have you been seeing your years as a curse you must hide? Or can you begin to wear them as the very thing that sets you apart? Because once you shift this belief, everything else changes. You stop apologizing for your story, you stop performing, and you begin to radiate something far more seductive than youth, the energy of a woman who is whole in herself. Now let me show you how everything transforms when a woman stops fighting her own story and instead allows it to become her greatest magnetism. Take Emma, 45. She had gone through a painful divorce, raised 2 children largely on her own, and rebuilt a career she thought she had lost. When she met Lucas, 35, she didn't hide any of it. She didn't downplay her scars or soften her truth. She simply shared her life as it was: the late nights working 2 jobs, the heartbreak of starting over, the resilience that kept her standing. And here's the beauty: he was captivated because of them. What he felt wasn't pity, it was awe. He could sense the emotional depth, the steadiness, the gravity of a woman who had lived. And that gravity pulled him in far stronger than any attempt to look younger, richer, or more available ever could. This is where authenticity becomes your superpower. Jung spoke often of the self, the integrated wholeness that emerges when we stop denying our past and start embracing it. When a woman steps into that state, she stops trying to be better or younger or more appealing. She simply is. And paradoxically, that's when she becomes irresistible. The truth is, most people in today's world are wearing masks, pretending, performing, hiding behind filtered images and polished stories. So when a younger man meets a woman who radiates authenticity, who owns her years without apology, who carries her scars without shame, she stands out in a way that cannot be ignored. So ask yourself, are you shrinking parts of your story, hiding chapters you fear might turn him away? Or are you brave enough to reveal yourself fully, trusting that what truly attracts isn't perfection, but presence, because the woman who is unapologetically herself doesn't just invite interest, she ignites it. And now we arrive at the heart of it all, the truth that ties every thread together. It has never been about your age. It has never been about your resume, your beauty routines, or your ability to match the energy of someone younger. What truly captivates a younger man, or any man for that matter, is authenticity. Think about it. The women who succeed in these relationships don't try to prove, to compete, or to perform. They don't apologize for their years, nor do they waste energy pretending to be someone else. Instead, they offer something rarer, something almost extinct in the world of modern dating, the courage to simply be themselves. Authenticity is electric. It radiates through your laugh, through the way you move, through the calm in your eyes when you know you are enough. It whispers, "I am whole already. You are welcome here, but I don't need you to complete me." And that energy, self-contained, abundant, magnetic, is irresistible. Carl Jung reminded us that true magnetism lies not in perfection, but in integration. The woman who embraces her age as her crown, her scars, as her stories, her vitality, as proof she has lived, she becomes unforgettable. So let me ask you one final time, are you hiding behind masks, fighting battles against time, chasing a validation you already own? Or are you ready to step into the rarest, most powerful form of allure, the kind that needs no justification? Because when you stop competing with youth and start celebrating the singular presence that only you can embody, everything changes. You no longer chase love. You attract it naturally. You no longer fear being too much or not enough. You are simply you. And that, my dear, is the secret. Not youth, not perfection, but the unapologetic vitality of a woman who has lived fully and refuses to dim her light for anyone. That is what makes you unforgettable.